Like to call to order the Town Council regular session. The time is 5:20, and the date is Monday, March 21st, 2011. If we could all stand, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance. Sue, could we have the roll call, please? Here.
Here? Here?
I would just like to note that Carol Hagan-McEntee is not able to be with us tonight as she has some sad news with the passing of her beloved mother, Anna Hagan. So she's with us in spirit. And we have one item on the agenda, new business. This is a resolution adopting the fiscal year 2011-2012 Town Council preliminary budget as shown as follow. And it's attached, and at this time I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Alfred. Thank you.
The council has reviewed the entire presentation of the town manager's proposed budget. This includes several funds, including the general fund, school fund, Peacedale offices, neighborhood guild, senior programs, and the three utilities, water, wastewater, and solid waste. Each of those budgets have been reviewed by the council. According to the town charter, on or before March 22nd of each year, the council is required to adopt a preliminary budget. I have prepared, with the agenda this evening, a summary of the various funds. Once the council adopts a preliminary budget, there will be two public hearings scheduled. One will be held on April 13th at 7 o'clock. The second will be on April 14th, also at 7 p.m. Subsequent to the conduct of those public hearings, citizen input in the form of petitions requesting reconsideration or addition or subtractions from the budget will be entertained and reviewed by the council prior to adoption of the final budget on April 25th, 2011. It's important to note that the council is required by charter to adopt a final budget on or before May 1st of each year and complete its consideration of any petitions that have been received pursuant to the charter, and to make any final changes in the preliminary budget it may deem advisable and give final approval to the budget that evening. So those are that is the framework in which the budget process works through the town charter. I also provided the council in advance of this evening's meeting a memorandum providing a preliminary estimate on the property tax roll for the 2011-2012 year. I provided this estimate because it is substantively different than that which was presented in the town manager's budget. In the town manager's budget, I noted and will continue to note that each point is a gate point in terms of the budget development. First is the initial budget development in December, then the town manager's budget in end of February, the preliminary budget in March, as well as the final budget in April. At each point, the values of the motor vehicles as well as the real estate rolls become clearer. As I've said before, roll certification is until June 15th. We have seen a downward trend on the tangible property holdings that are subject to property taxation in South Kingstown for the 2011 and 2012 year. Essentially, we are seeing major reductions in the tangible property holdings with several of our industrial taxpayers. The most notable is a $15.6 million projected reduction in the value of American Power Conversion Corp's holdings, tangible holdings in town. It's still important to note that APCC will continue to be the town's largest taxpayer, paying approximately 1.5% of the overall tax levy in the community. However, manufacturing activities and the equipment required for the operation of that manufacturing function have been relocated outside of the West Kingston facility. As such, the equipment necessary for manufacturing has been removed. In addition, research and development activities have been moved out of state, allowing for the removal of the R&D computer equipment. The facility now continues to provide testing operations and corporate headquarters. However, the value and amount of computer equipment or manufacturing equipment on site continues to decline. As documented in the memorandum, in the 2009 tax roll, over $71.8 million in tangible property holdings were held by APC. That dropped off by $7.5 million in the current year and is anticipated to drop another $15.6 million next year. We're also anticipating additional reductions in Coxcom holdings in town, which is estimated to go down by over $1 million. Essentially, what we're seeing is about a $17 million reduction from what traditional budget tax roll increases have been in prior years. This would mean that if the roll were to be certified today, that we would be anticipating that the overall tax roll increases would be approximately $2.8 million. That would be the new taxable value, or a 0.07%. When I prepared the budget, we were using a figure of about 0.7. So we're now down really to 1/10 of that amount. So at this point, it requires us to update what the estimated tax rate increase would be based on the reduction in the values that are anticipated. It's also important to note that there are other value declines that we're seeing with commercial property tangibles in many of our businesses, as well as the values associated with leased equipment in South Kingstown. This may be medical equipment that's owned by a third party used at the hospital, or computer equipment that is housed at the university that's still owned by a vendor, and it's leased by the university or the hospital or any of the various businesses in the community. We're seeing about a $775,000 projected reduction in that class of properties as well. So this is the first time we've seen really single-digit or less than a single-digit increase in the value of the roll in any tax year that we can recall. Having said that, we would be looking at, rather than the 7-cent increase that was projected at the time that the manager's budget was submitted, approximately a 12-cent increase. And again, this is still just another gate point in time, because there's still considerable work that needs to be completed on the assessment roll for June 15th of 2011. This 12-cent is also predicated on the value of the motor vehicles staying as they were last year. We have considerable work to do on motor vehicles, and We will be providing updates to the council on that value as we go forward. Again, the 12 cents assumes that there is no loss in value with the motor vehicles for current year. If that changes, and it could change, there could be a substantial change, potentially as much as 15 cents. But again, the most important thing to remember is that the tax levy, the amount of taxes that we're going to raise, is not changing from what was proposed in the manager's budget if it was adopted as the preliminary budget by the council. We're still looking at an overall increase in the tax levy of $621,258, which is a 0.95% increase, less than 1%. And again, I'll remind you that the property tax cap, which we have been under for the last 3 years, would allow for as much as a 4.25%. So we're about $2.8 million below what the state legislation would allow. So the budget from the manager's recommendation to the council's preliminary does not change as far as the expenditure statement or the revenue statement, other than the property tax. What will change is where the dollars are coming from to support the tax levy. If there's less motor vehicles available for taxation, then there'll be a higher rate required on the real estate, and conversely, if there was a higher motor vehicle value, there would be less requirement on the real estate. So that's the best estimate that I can provide you at this time as far as the relationship of the roll to the budget. I continue to caution that the estimated increases in the rates are subject to considerable, to potential fluctuation based on what's a final certified roll, both on the motor vehicles and on the real estate. We have seen major change on the real estate, and that's why we're reporting that at this point. The agenda for this evening, if we can walk through that. If we go to the first page of the document, it presents the appropriation, and this starts out, it says fiscal year 11-12, recommended budget program, appropriation $73,372,050. That is the same as the manager's recommended budget. The only change on that chart is that where the manager's budget was showing a rate of $14 and $14.26, we're now showing $14.31 based on the update of the roll values for a 12-cent rather than a 7-cent increase. And again, this does not change the amount of levy increase. That stays the same at the $621,258. The next chart is a summary of the general fund budget. This is identical to what was presented in the manager's budget. If there's no questions, I'll move on. The next page provides the summary of the school fund. As I noted at the work session held with the school committee, my recommendation to the council and to the school committee was to adjust the revenue statement by reducing the value of the undesignated funds forwarded to the 11-12 year from $775,623 down to $392,066. And in fact, the last 2 pages of the document presentation this evening presents a summary of the school fund and the variations from what had been submitted by the school committee, what had been recommended by the manager, and what the proposed revisions are for council consideration for the preliminary budget. The next account, no change for the Peacedale office building from what was presented. No changes on the Guild or Senior Services Program or the 3 utilities, water, wastewater, and solid waste. The last page shows the summary, which is identical to the summary in the manager's proposed budget, showing all funds total budget of $89,774,895. That has not changed from what had been proposed in the manager's budget. At this time, I direct it back to you, Ella, as to any revisions that council wishes to consider in amending the manager's budget prior to a formal motion for adoption of the preliminary budget.
Questions here at the table. Polly?
What is the reason for Cox's loss in property value of over $1 million?
They're required to report on their personal property holdings each year, and they have to provide us with that statement by March 15th. We've just received the statement, and that's showing the $1,032,000 reduction. We will have to be reviewing that with the company to determine why. In many cases, it may be a case that because on tangible property, there's a depreciation schedule that's associated with it. Both there's for a short term, a 5-year where it goes at 20% per year, and a long-term 10-year, which also has a declining percentage that you can tax. So what they do is they bring the property value in the first year, and it declines each year. It would continue to decline if there's not additional equipment brought into the town, and if they maintained status quo, we would see that type of a reduction from year to year. Normally, what we see is replacement equipment that comes in that would then start the schedule again. But the assessor hasn't had the opportunity to review the new sheet to last year's, but preliminary indication is on their self-reporting that they're $1,032,000 below where they were in the current year.
And this is not unusual then for Cox? I thought it was higher than expected.
Well, the $1 million, I'm not sure that it's unusual or usual at this point. I haven't looked at the travel on a yearly basis. The only travel I've shown you is on the APC, where it had gone up and then has started to go down. But that's something that Gene will be looking at between now and June 15th.
Thank you.
Further questions here at the table?
No.
You okay? At this time, Jim, we've just gone through Steve's presentation. And we're asking for questions here at the table. I can probably go to questions from our audience and come back to the table.
That'll be fine.
Do we have any questions from the audience? I'm just going to take a 30-second just to pass information on. So any further questions here at the table, or any questions from the audience? Otherwise, I'm going to turn, Kath? Steve, do you want me to turn it back over to you?
I think at this point, if there are no questions, you should entertain a motion to adopt the preliminary budget as presented with the agenda.
Sorry, Polly. I will make the motion to accept new business item A, a resolution adopting the 2011-2012 Town Council preliminary budget.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Do you have something you want to say?
Yeah, I have quite a few questions I've been thinking of the last few weeks. I will not be supporting the preliminary budget.
Okay.
And I brought those up at the last few meetings.
Okay.
A number of concerns that I have.
Okay, I'm going to take a vote. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Abstention? Motion carries 3, 1, and 1 absentee.
Motion to adjourn? We don't need that, actually, do we?
Okay,
Just have it.
so we're going to adjourn. Jim, unless you have further comments, we're going to adjourn.
Were we going to discuss the human service agencies? I think that's my one question.
If you wanted to bring up something,
Just approve the budget.
still, if it's something that he wants to say.
No, I just was quite concerned that the numbers did not meet what I expected. I wanted to be a lot more liberal with a few of the programs, not only the Chamber, but Welcome House, Johnny Cake. And the town's budget, reason I brought the questions the last time, I believe we are short one officer. I know Chief Espia said we were right at the absolute base limit for operations. And probably most importantly, I think I've found a number of things in the school program.
Oh,
Yeah, I believe I've also found a number of things in the school program that I cannot support, that I believe their request for spending is too high. And what I'm also looking at here, what I put together, which I didn't bring tonight, because I want to hear from the public over the April meetings. I've got a number of issues here, not only with their expenditure, but the fact that the school budget still is the 78% of our total budget. And with the continuing population decline, I think we should have a lot more of a transfer between the municipality gaining some money and the schools, which I think can give up some funds. Most importantly, on the taxpayer side of things, I think we need to help the taxpayers. I want to go back to $3,000 from the $500 for exemption. Commercial properties last year soaked up about $450,000 of our $950,000 increase. I would like to see that changed and lowered somehow or another with the some, maybe not a credit, but I believe they took too much of a hit last year. A lot of things I want to get rid of, like the holiday tax, the $50 on the 125, 130 companies in this town. An absolute nuisance that I'd like to eliminate. That's only $6,000 or $7,000. And I've got quite a few changes that I want to really bring up over the next month. But basically, I think we have quite a bit of room in the education budget to move off of their request, put some of that money into the municipal budget, and give some of that money back to taxpayers. I've asked all the appropriate questions over the meetings over the past few months, and I'm quite concerned that I just don't hear at all the language that we should be most concerned about, and that's the well-being, financial well-being of our families in this town, and I hear no conversation towards that whatsoever. And I think you know my worries about what's happening at the state level. I think we're going to get some nasty surprises with the pension issues. That's going to burn us. And probably my biggest concern is, and I brought this up numerous times, is the school budget that's being put together with a 0.20, a 0% salary increase, with a 20% copay. I certainly hope that happens, but I think that's asking for quite a bit. And I don't think, looking at the other side of the table, if the union negotiators see the amount of money we have in our undesignated fund balance, I think that's just easy pickings for them. So I want to see that money used up. That's taxpayer money, and that's where if the schools have to use more of it, then they have to use more of it. It's their right. But I'm really tired of it being used as a piggy bank, just taxpayers' money. Anyway, number of changes that I need to look at here, but anyway, I will be presenting all these over the next month at the new meetings.
Further comments? Kathy?
It's too bad that Mr. O'Neill wasn't here, and he did hear us ask for comments beforehand, but the preliminary budget is passed. It is 5:30, but the meeting did start at 5 o'clock. To be rattling off all this stuff after he was asked for comments, I think the meeting is over.
Right, we actually started at 5:20.
We waited 15 minutes for Mr. O'Neill.
I
Just too bad,
respectfully...
Kathy, we've waited for you
No.
All right,
quite a
let's
few
be-
times,
let's be-
and
we're gonna
that's
be
too bad. But
respectful.
I've brought up all my issues before. I will be pursuing them, and this is nothing new.
Holly?
Yeah, I would just like Jim to clear what you're saying is that we can get money from the school budget to take care of some increases you'd like to see in the municipal budget?
That is
More police?
That is partially correct, yes, exactly. As well as human service agencies, I would like to increase at least 4 of
Wouldn't
their
we all?
requests.
Oh,
Yeah.
wouldn't we all?
I know,
Wouldn't we all?
but,
I guess he missed the part two about, the beginning part that Steve reviewed about the APC and how the manager's budget has changed from 7 cents to 12 cents. So wouldn't we like to give everybody, as much money as they possibly could use? But we have to be diligent for the taxpayers, and we're already up to 12%, and we still have, data to review on the motor vehicles. So I think we've been very, very conservative in protecting the taxpayers in this town thus far. We've never been late for a meeting.
I would just like to respectfully disagree, Jim. I think that Steve and Alan have done a fabulous job putting this budget together. I think it's a fair budget. It is a moving target. Steve and Alan are still collecting a lot of data, and they'll be doing that for us all the way up until June. So we appreciate all the data that you've collected, and we'll continue to keep the focus on spending the taxpayers' dollars wisely. And we will keep engaging in conversations with our public so that we can have transparent government here. So at this time, there's no further questions. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.